let's be real, the enemy is very wise, and oftentimes as children of God, we fail in our plans because we do not know how to strategize properly. As a daughter of God, as a son of God, you need to know how to strategize. So if you're ever in a conversation and someone is telling you you do not need to know how to strategize and you just need to wait for things to happen to you, you need to send them this video and excuse yourself from the conversation. Welcome back to Ahithophel, where we step into ancient stories with a modern heart. In this video, I will be telling you a story on how a king was able to defeat a super wise man because he strategized properly. I will also be giving you 2 key points that when you apply to your life as a child of God will enable you to get better results from your plans in order to better your marriage, your life, your business, your career, and your family in general. Well, let's get into the story, shall we? Quick cartel list for today's story. We have King David. We also have Absalom, who is King David's son. We have a man who is called Ahithophel. When you think of Ahithophel, think of a wise man. And last but not the least, we have Hushai, which is King David's friend. The entirety of this story can be found in the book of 2 Samuel chapter 15 up until chapter 17, even towards chapter 19. So at this point in time, King David was obviously king over Israel and he dwelled in Jerusalem. Now, King David has a son called Absalom. Absalom doesn't have a good track record, meaning he's known to he's known to act up from time to time. At one point in time, King David has even had to banish his own son. Yes, that's just to show you the kind of person Absalom could be. Now, in this particular setting, Absalom is back in Jerusalem with King David. And what he did was that he thought to himself and he was like, you know what? I want to overthrow my father. So the first step in that was that he took himself and he sat at the gate. And the reason why he did this was to put himself in the middle of the people and the king. So whenever anyone would want to come to the palace to see the king, to settle some argument or debates, Absalom would be there and he would kiss their hand and he would say things like, oh, if I was a judge, things would be great, this and that. That was his game plan, right? So that is Absalom. Years later, he decided that it was time to finally overthrow his father and he made decisions to do that. Now, here comes Ahithophel. Ahithophel is known as a wise counsel for King David, meaning he sat in the court with King David and his counsel was known as though you were hearing straight from the throne of heaven. So this man is the type of person that when he gives you an advice, you know that if you follow his advice, it's a win, right? So that was the man's reputation, Ahithophel's reputation. Absalom devised a plan to overthrow King David, and when King David, his father, heard about this plan, he was like, yo, let's flee, because if Absalom gets us, he's gonna kill us. So David upped and he ran away for his life, him and all his people. So he took his family, his wives and everything. He left 10 concubines in the house to look after the house. Now everyone was gone with King David. Absalom reached out to Ahithophel and told him hey, I need your counsel. I need you to be on my side. And Ahithophel was like, bet, I got you. So Ahithophel now is on the side of Absalom, even though Ahithophel is supposed to be a counsel for David. When David heard about this, his heart was broken and he was like, oh no, not Ahithophel. And he made a prayer. This prayer shall be gotten from the book of 2 Samuel chapter 15 from verse 31. Let's read the Bible. And one told David, saying, Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom. And David said, O Lord, I pray thee, turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness. So when David heard that obviously Ahithophel is one of the ops, he was like, Lord, please turn the counsel of this man into foolishness, because they know that Ahithophel is solid for his advices. After David had made that prayer, his friend Hushai came to him because he was like, oh, I heard what is happening. I'm going to come with you. And David was like, Hushai, no, you have to go back to the court. The reason why is because Hushai also sat in the court and advised David at the point in time. And and he was known to be a good friend of David. So David devised a plan with Hushai for Hushai to return back to the court and to tell Absalom like, oh, I served your father, I can serve you even better and stuff like that. Hushai did exactly that. So when he returned back to the court, he saw Absalom, King David's son, and he was like, long live the king, long live the king Absalom, or whatever. Absalom was surprised and he was like, aren't you my father's friend? Is this how you repay your friend? You couldn't even go with him? And Hushai was like, is it wrong that I serve the father and want to serve the son as well? He was like, I want to serve you as well. Absalom bought the story, apparently, so he allowed Hushai to stay. Now it was time to give advices, and the very first advice that Ahithophel gave to Absalom was that, you know what? Your father lets concubines in the house. What you have to do is you have to go into them so that you can assert dominance, so everybody can know that you're the it guy. Absalom obviously accepted that, and he went into his father's concubine, basically like a public display. Everyone saw him laying with his father's concubine, and they were like, yeah, Absalom is the guy. He's overthrown David. The word spread, just as Ahithophel had told him it would. Now, the second thing that Ahithophel said, I'm telling you, this guy is so wise. And this is why, as children of God, it is important to pay attention, because the enemy has wisdom. So as a child of God, if you're going against an enemy that is wise, come on now, like, you need wisdom. You need heavenly wisdom, divine wisdom. Okay. So Ahithophel brought his second plan up, and he was like, guess what? Because your father has been running, he's on the run, he's going to be tired. Give me 12,000 men so I can pursue. And when we find the king, we're going to slay only the king, and everyone else will be okay. And then they will accept you as their new king. Now, when Absalom heard this, he was like, wow. This is wonderful. He was sounding like a siren. Wow. It's like, this is wonderful advice here. So the elders of Israel too was like, this is great. So Absalom decided, for whatever reason, divine orchestration, to ask Hushai what he thought. So they brought in Hushai as well, and they told him like, hey, this is what Ahithophel said. What do you think? Hushai, understanding that whatever Ahithophel said, like, whoa, if they actually followed this plan, it would lead to the death of King David. Hushai was like, yo, do not regard Ahithophel at this point. Ahithophel's advice is not good for right now. Because guess what? Your father is a man of war. The people that are with him are men of war, and they can fight and they can do this and that. So do not regard Ahithophel. But what you should do instead is like this. So he gave him a counter advice that would save his friend David, but Absalom did not know, obviously. So Absalom was like, okay, this sounds good. Bet. So they disregarded the counsel of Ahithophel, the wise man, because of the divine orchestration that David was having with Hushai. When Ahithophel heard that the counsel that he gave to Absalom wasn't followed, he was upset. He was so pissed and he was so mad that he went home, he arranged his house, and then he hung himself, basically killed himself because they didn't listen to his counsel. He's obviously dealing with his own demons. He had so many things going on, but that is how divine orchestration thwarted the plan of a very wise man. Now, the counsel that Ahithophel had given to Absalom, if they actually followed it, would have led to David dying. But if you go back to the Bible and you read the chapters to come, you realize that at the end of the day, David was able to win that battle and come back home as king while Absalom was killed, just because one counsel wasn't followed, and that's the counsel of the Ahithophel. How does this story apply to us as children of God when we are strategizing a plan? Here are the key points. Number one, confirming that God even wants you on that plan saves you from a lot of stress, because so many times we waste resources, our strength, our youth, our hearts on certain things that the Lord didn't even call us to in the first place. So as a child of God, if you want to strategize better, number one thing to do is to confirm that God is with you in that plan. How would this look like? This would look like you, when you identify a plan that you want to make, take it to God, kneel kneel down and say, Lord, this is what has been laid in my heart. Is this what you want from me? Is this the person that you want from me? Is this what you want me to do in this marriage? Is this what you want me to do in this career? Take it back to God and confirm. Get God's confirmation that He's actually with you. Because guess what? That's even the beginning of the whole breakfast and the heartbreak. If the Lord is not with you, we end up in places that we don't even deserve to be. Like, we end up in the lowest places of our lives oftentimes. So confirm that God is with you. And once you've confirmed that God is with you, here comes your second point. Find your insider. In this story, Hushai was the insider for King David. If it wasn't for Hushai, the counsel of Ahithophel would have been followed. And if that had happened, King David would have died. So find your insider. Your insider could come in the form of a mentor, someone who has information, someone who has knowledge about what you're about to go into. And your insider information could come in dreams. Sometimes we sleep and the Lord reveals things to us. When the Lord reveals something to you in your dream, number one, understand how powerful you are. Number two, get to documenting, because you have to write those things down so you don't forget. Do not trust your brain to remind you of the things that the Lord has revealed to you in your dream, okay? So make sure that you have your insider. Make sure the Hushai is present. As a child of God, do not do yourself a disadvantage of going into any room blind. I understand that God is already our side. God is looking out for us. However, God will also place certain people in our lives that if we utilize them properly, we will get the results we're trying to achieve. That could also look like, as a man, when you want to make a certain move, the Lord has placed a partner in your life, a woman in your life that He has blessed, He has ordained to steer you in the right direction. Now, what do? Understanding that that woman is your Hushai, you go back to and you're like, hey, this is what I want to do. What do you think? And most of the time, like, the Lord will give her a word for you. The same goes for a woman. When you want to do something and the Lord has placed a man in your life, or the Lord has placed a friend in your life, that trustworthy friend, that trustworthy person that you can rely on, make sure you're utilizing your Hushai. Because when we look around, most times the Lord has already placed the things that we need in our paths. You just have to look and be able to utilize them to strategize better. So remember, who is your insider person? Who is your Hushai? Bonus and last point for this video is develop a great reputation. The children of Israel were willing to go to war and die for their King David because he had a great reputation with them and because he was their king. Now, when you bring it down to today's time, who are the people in your circle and what are they willing to do for you? Do you have a great reputation, or are you someone that is known to just, treat people anyhow? When you are someone who is known to be messy, people don't want to associate with you. And for you to strategize, strategy is not a one-man game. It is not a one-person thing at all. As a woman, you cannot just stay and strategize alone. When you want to strategize, you need to be surrounded, which is why it's important for you to already have a great reputation so that when you step out and you want to strategize, you're already surrounded with people that want to help you attain the goal that you want. So what kind of reputation do you have? What do people think about when they hear your name? Do you have a great reputation? If you don't have a great reputation, please develop one. Do things like the little things that you can do right now so that you can get to that point where you feel like you have a solid enough reputation. Now, just a little recap. Remember, number one is to confirm that God is in your corner in accordance to the plan you're about to strategize for. Number two is having your insider person, that woman, that man, that janitor, that CEO, the person with the information, that counselor, the person that can help you out, your own very Hushai. Number three is to develop a great reputation, because it all starts there. Y'all, this is the end of story time today. I hope you've learned a lot. This story teaches me a lot and continues to impact me on a daily basis. As for today, this is the end of our story. I love you and God loves you more.